it never ends. The minute you wake up in the morning, you start, and the minute you go to sleep, it ends. I mean, you're cleaning, you're caring for animals, you're fixing fences, you're building barns, you're setting up housing, you're going to vets, you're going to feed stores. You have to give up a lot of your life. But physically, it's very challenging. Financially, emotionally, it can be extremely difficult. You get attached to them. You get so attached, and everything dies. Everything. And my name's Nancy Nenad, and I run a little sanctuary in Cornville, Arizona called Little Orphan Animals. They're not all little, but we've got over 200 animals here right now. Everything from little tiny parrots to giant longhorns and rescued Belgians and even a zebra. This is just something I've done my whole life, is take care of animals and rescue animals. And my parents did it as well with me. But after they died a few years ago, I've really taken on more. At first I wasn't sure if I could continue without them, and emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically, but we did. We doubled up. Some friends came to help me, and we've taken on even more now. And we have all kinds of animals that are either abandoned or abused or just unwanted, or their owners died and didn't have a place for them anymore. These big Belgians were Amish horses. They worked their whole lives for the Amish on the farms, and then when they weren't able to work anymore, they were going to go to slaughter and be taken to Mexico, so they're called kill pen horses. I bought them directly from a kill pen. We have lots of different dogs, and my favorites, of course, are Xolo squinkles, which I've kept for about 30 years. I don't have any really super outstanding, beautiful ones like I know some of you do that I've met, but to me they're all fantastic in their own right. But here we try to make it kind of a little paradise for animals of all types and humans as well who want to come visit. During the pandemic we had all kinds of visitors here. It was kind of like Central Park, and everyone was just being out in nature with trees and animals. Think someone was going to kill this guy because he couldn't work hard anymore. This is Maximilian. This is Casper the ghost. There goes my Xolo squinkly hat. Give that to me. And I want to do more. I want to buy more land. I want to rescue more animals. I want to help more people. I just want anybody who wants to live to the fullest and follow their heart and their dreams. That's who I'm here to help. Don't bite me. No. As an only child of older parents, I just started bringing home anything and everything I could find. First I would hide it in my bedroom, cats and dogs and all the classroom. Hey, no! This is a beautiful piece. I had all the, I took all the classroom animals, the mice, the hamsters, the gerbils. But then if I found anything injured, I had a baby coyote once, quail. You be nice. And it just burgeoned from there. The older I got, the more animals I wanted to interact with. I got a raccoon, a baby raccoon. That was one of my favorites ever. And I've had 5 raccoons in my life that I've raised. Basically, my whole life was animals as an only child, Stuffed animals or real animals. But the more I could get, the real ones I could get away with, the better. And in 1975, we bought this little ranch up in Cornville. And that opened a whole new realm of possibilities because we could get big horses and cows and donkeys and sheep. My father loved it too. My father loved rescuing all the animals and big giant hogs. My mother not so much because she was a city girl from Detroit. But she got to learn to like them, and she wouldn't admit it, but she did. I would see her down there giving them little treats, and we would drive back and forth to Phoenix with all kinds of animals in the car, goats and donkeys and sheep. But it just burgeoned, and we had more and more all the time. And they would come in the house, and during holidays, they would all be part of their back. It became an official 501c3 sanctuary in 2008. One of my art clients worked for a lawyer, and she says, "You've got to get a 501c3 to help you." Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want, I'm kind of a private person, but we did it. We went through all the paperwork. She filled most everything for me, and we became an official with the government in 2008. And then we were able to accept donations. And rescue more animals because of it. So I'm very glad we did it, and we've met so many fantastic people from that. But no, it's helped immensely. And lately we had a little article about us in the newspaper last year, and so many local people who never knew we were here have started visiting and bringing their friends, and one nominated us for a little award, which we actually won, and so we're going to get a nice check to buy hay, and I would like to build housing for all the horses for the night houses and for the winter, because it's going to get pretty chilly pretty soon. And I just want to do more. I mean, everyone's like, you can't do any more. That's enough. You're falling apart. But I want more. I want to get that property. I want to save more animals. I also want to make a project in Mexico. I've been looking at some property down in Jalisco, in Santa Cruz de las Huertas, right by Tonalá. And I want to make it a community area there that has people, animals. There's already water and ponds, and I want it to be a place where everybody can come and experience nature, rich, poor, whatever, and just interact with each other, learn about animals, learn about trees, learn about nature, learn how to respect each other and animals and the trees and everything. And that's what I want to do here too. I do outreach programs, and I'll take the animals to schools, and I want to start taking the Xolos to hospitals for children with cancer who've lost their hair. I think that would be fantastic. That's one of my goals. And with the new little pony, I want to take him and do outreach work, and kids and also elderly people. Elderly people, I think, are overlooked, and they're so important, and it's so important to retain that knowledge. I want to reach them, and they're the ones that light up too with these animals. When we had that article about us, there was an elderly woman who called me and said, "Can I just come see a horse?" And I said, yeah. And she came out here, and she was leaning over the fence, and she said, "I used to ride my horse to school every day, and he would wait outside the school for me, and he'd look in the window, never had to tie him up or anything. And then I'd get on and I'd ride him home." And as she was talking, Wayne came over to her, and she actually had tears in her eyes. And I said, "See this horse here? He was left out to die. He was abandoned. And how do these two souls come together again?" Once I had a little lamb. Her name was Curly, and I took her to a farm day for severely ill children. And this little girl was in a wheelchair, and Curly was bouncing around, and the girl reached out her hand, and Curly came over, and she said, "Curly!" And the mother started crying. And she said this is the first time she's spoken in over 5 years. How did that little lamb touch that child? How did that child touch that lamb? I don't know. You see magical things happen like this all the time when you step out of the reality of modern human life. And I live a very different life, surrounded with animals. There's dogs surrounding me in bed. There's chaos and mess everywhere, but it's so special. I'm the luckiest person in the world. I want to have more people come here. I want to fix it up so that people can come and experience these animals and realize that they were going to be dead. And it's your choice whether you decide to eat meat or not or whatever, but just have respect and awareness. Awareness is so important in life about everything, and it's something we don't take time to really think about what we're doing, because we're racing from one place to another, or looking at our phones or computers. And I would like people to come here and just kind of sit back and look at the sky and look at the wild birds and the wild animals, and the ones that have shown up from all these different situations that have taught us so much, you know? It's an important thing. Well, we have 10 acres here. There's 2 different properties, and we're very fortunate because we have an artesian well, which just naturally comes out 400 gallons a minute, 24 hours a day. That helps on expenses, the grass, but alfalfa is so expensive now. The expenses for the animals are through the roof. I mean, I used to think it was bad, but since the pandemic, hay went up to almost $30 a bale. We go through 11 or 12 bales of hay a day. The Belgians themselves will eat 50, 100 pounds of oats in a day. Those are $25 a bag. You know, it's just thousands of dollars a month. Probably for hay, now with the new horses, maybe $6,000 a month. The dogs, we have 23 dogs in total. Maybe $300 a month, $300 a week, I'm sorry. The cats, a couple $100 a week. The birds have to have their fresh fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts. They're a couple $100 a week. There's a lot of expense involved in running a sanctuary. I mean, I would have more now if I could, but I'm stretched to the max. You know, I'm a massage therapist and I sell folk art. And that's how I've paid for these animals throughout the years until we could get donations. The donations have helped immensely. They've helped us grow and maintain a lot. And also the work involved, it never ends. The minute you wake up in the morning, you start, and the minute you go to sleep, it ends. I mean, you're cleaning, you're caring for animals, you're fixing fences, you're building barns, you're setting up housing, you're going to vets, you're going to feed stores. You have to give up a lot of your life, and it's hard when you're younger, because when you're younger, you know, you feel good at it and you want to do things. I was very fortunate. I got to travel the world with my parents when I was young and a kid, and I got to see a lot, so I got that out of my system so that I can take the time now and give of myself. And that's another thing, it's very hard on your body. I've had many injuries, not that they intentionally mean to injure you, but they will. The horses are the most dangerous animal in the world. They're large, and they have large adrenal glands, and they spook very easily. You get run over, you get thrown, lots of hassles. But physically, it's very challenging. Financially, emotionally, it can be extremely difficult. You get attached to them. You get so attached, and everything dies, everything. So you hold on loosely. You don't want to covet and protect and watch everything. You give them space. You give them everything they need to live the best life possible. Good food and love and care and kindness and good environments and housing. But then they have to show up. They have to respond. Most do. Every once in a while you have one that just doesn't. And I'll either try to find another home for it, or sometimes we lose it. They're just too far gone. We had one horse show up this summer who only lived 10 days. He was a beautiful paint, and his third day he fell down. And he never stopped eating. He was emaciated, and that's what happened. He was dying from lack of food and nutrition. And he kept eating, and he would look up and he'd look at the pasture, and he got to know my voice even within that time, and he'd hear my voice and he'd look over, and the vet was back and forth, and we did everything to try to get him up, get him fed, but he just didn't make it. He was too far gone. But you know what? He died in a little paradise. He died having food and water. He died feeling love and comfort. And sometimes if I have him 10 days or 2 days, or if I have him 30 years, it's all very, very special. Good time. Like right now, you're constantly having to repair things, fences especially. The fences are always down or broken. But right now we're working on the barn. We had to make it higher because of all the Belgians that came in. And we have more animals. We need more space for them. And so we've got like the Sistine Chapel of a barn coming, which I love. And I've got a guardian angel named Roberto Rivera who comes out and just helps me with everything. When I can't be here, he'll be here feeding. He mends fences, he builds everything. He's working on this barn now. He's building a special room that's going to have really high ceilings and lots of light, so we can build aviary flights for all the tropical birds. You want to give them the best life possible. You want them to have choices too. It's called behavioral enrichment, when you enrich the captive environment of an animal. And you want animals to have choices. If you're too dominant and they don't have any choice in their life. That's not a good life. You want them, I suppose like children, never had children, but you want them to be able to make choices and feel like they have power, and then they're going to live to the best of their ability, and their health is going to be the best too, mental and physical. So many people focus on me. Oh, this is Nancy's dream, or Nancy's. This is not just me, believe me. This is a team. It takes a whole village to keep all of this going. And like how I met Julio and Sean, I mean, these amazing young men who came out here, you know, just because of the love of Xolos, these dogs, and then you share life with them. But this is not me. This is a huge project. I just happen to be a facilitator because I have the property and I had a few ideas that I put into motion. But I'm so grateful for everybody that's participated, everybody who called, everybody who emails me or texts or stops by and visits or brings carrots or apples or sends a donation, because that's what it takes. I am one person in this huge, immense village of people that is caring for these animals. And I'm grateful for everybody who supported me, and even for those who haven't. My mother was not so fond of living with animals. But at the end, you know, when she died, she had been a private secretary for years. And she used to write me letters on her iPad. And even though I'd be in the other room, she wrote me this long letter about the animals. And she said, you know what, I finally understand. I understand what you've got from these animals, what they mean. She says, you know I like them too. She says, I'm very glad you're doing what you're doing. And to me, that was very gratifying because she was always my nemesis. These animals. You could have had such a nice life without these animals, but these animals are my life. But I'm grateful for everybody, not only who touches my animals, but everybody who takes care of animals, who has a dog or a cat or a bird, or who's adopted animals, or is helping organizations or helping people who are helping animals, because they are forgotten. I mean, look at, people have a rough enough time around this world. Look what's going on, you know, 8 billion people. Too many monkeys in the cage. But there are so many problems, and the animals even fall below that a lot. So I'm grateful for everybody to contribute in any kind of life on this earth, because there's so much destruction and decay and death and denial. We've got to work together to make this a better place. That's all there is to it. As a child, I read about these dogs called Xolo squinkles. I didn't know how to pronounce it at the time, and they had always intrigued me. And we were in Mexico City once, walking along this market Sunday morning, and here was an older man sitting with one at his feet. And I just said, that's a Xolo squinkle. And he looked at me and he said, you know? And I said, I definitely know. And there were not many around. This was 35, 40 years ago. And he invited me to come back to a big exhibition. Well, it wasn't big, but it was an exhibition they were having at Anahuicalli. And there were a few people around Mexico who kept these dogs. And all these people came with their dogs to Mexico. And it was to this museum, and I got to see all the different kinds. I didn't know there were all these different kinds, and I was just astounded at the different colors and the sizes. And one person there was an American woman named Patty Hoover, and she was from the state of Washington. I got to talk to her a little bit, and she had these beautiful dogs, and it was just so overwhelming. I took in so much information and met so many people, but eventually we had to leave. And I thought, how can I get one of these dogs? How can I find these people? Well, in the airport, going home, here's Patty Hoover. And I ran into her and I said, I just met you. I met you at the exhibition, and we exchanged numbers. And I said, if you ever have one, you know, that has little special needs or something, let me know. And sure enough, she called me up and she says, I have this little dog named Chichil. I said, I'll take him. I don't care if he has 3 legs, no eyes, send him to me. So she sent him to me from Washington, and that was my first Xolo squinkle. And that was late 80s, early 90s, I guess. Early 90s. And I've had them ever since. I've always had at least 2, 3. Now I have 11 Xolos. They go everywhere with me. They run wild like jackals, but I love them. I love the attentiveness to them. I love the wildness of them, the primitiveness. I like that they don't obey me, and they have minds of their own, and I encourage that. And so many people think, oh, I'm going to get this dog, and it's going to be hairless. What a nice novelty, and then they don't realize that these are very different dogs. They don't obey completely all the time. And so a lot of them now are ending up in shelters and situations that are very dire. And so I've had quite a few rescues lately. I never thought I would see that when I was back at Anawikali, when there were hardly any left in the world. But it's gotten to the point now where there's some unscrupulous breeders and people are unaware of what they're getting into when they get these dogs. They're very special, but you have to be on your mark to take care of these dogs too. You have to be alert and aware because they are always conscious. They're like wild animals.